All right, so round one is in the books. It was a heck of a time getting the car ready. We got it like 99% done for the event, made it out there, and actually unloaded it from the trailer and did the last 1% out there. We had to, mount the seats, get like roll bar padding. We had to fix a couple brake issues, things like that. But we got it all done, passed tech right away. We had never even had the cars on scales or anything, so having it weighed, we landed right at 3,030 pounds, which is perfect for what we needed. Adding, throughout the build process, we added weight here and took it away there and kind of ballparked where we wanted it and wasn't sure exactly what we were going to end up with. I was fully prepared to have to go run to Walmart and buy some weights and add some ballast to it or, do what we had to do, but it ended up being perfect. So got out there. The first practice, I wanted to kind of take it easy a little bit. I knew we don't get a whole lot of practice out there, so you don't want to just go so easy that you're throwing your runs away. So first lap out, I think I was chasing, it might have been Hurst right away. Came into the first corner a little bit shallow, and then I always joke about like, we get these cars all nice and we're gonna hit the wall first run out. Of course, first run out, I tagged the wall on the right side, broke the taillight, actually just cracked it, so it wasn't too bad, but kind of typical Long Beach things, the car made it through relatively unscathed compared to a lot of other cars. Tapping the walls here and there is kind of part of the game at that track.
It's nuts. So
he's unreal. He is just a phenomenal driver, and love seeing him in our RTRs.
Oh, Robbins.
Oop.
Little too much on it. I can't imagine how hard it is to like just drive the car and huck it in there. Like we saw, obviously Ben had a boop, if you will. From your perspective, from driving this track for years, like it's a blind corner. You're literally just driving at a wall and hoping.
We scraped a few walls. I bent a rear tow arm, just hitting the tire on the wall with this car. One of the main things we did was get rid of a little bit of the crash structure in the back because that was always bouncing off the walls. And with doing that, now the first thing that hits the wall aside from the bash bar is the rear tire. So we'll probably end up seeing a lot more bent tow arms and things like that on this car, which is fine. It's at least, something that's gonna be collapsible and bendable rather than ruining the chassis right away. So yeah, overall the car held up really good to all that stuff. A few of the other issues we ran into probably on my third lap out, my belt tensioner lost tension on my accessory belt. So the supercharger belt was working fine with the power steering and alternator belt. I have a new bracket and tensioner setup that I made for it, and with the way it's pulling tension on, it's wanting to loosen up the tensioner bracket bolt and basically take all the tension off the belt. And when that happens, you lose power steering, you lose alternator, and that's not good on this track. So the first time it happened was going into the hairpin in the last corner, which is fine. I just shut it down and like stopped. But the second time it happened was my last practice run. Turk was following me, and I could feel in the first corner, you can feel right when it happens, like the steering just instantly gets really heavy. Got up to the first wall and I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do at this point. And so I like did a really slow transition into the second outside zone. And then right when I got kind of pointed away from the wall, I got on the brakes hard. And I didn't want to like panic brake because I knew Turk was going to be right there and I didn't want him to slam into me. So I kind of slowly got on the brakes. He got around me and then I got on the brakes hard. And when I was at full lock, because I was pointed away from outer zone 2, being on the brakes hard, and no power steering, there was no way to turn back to the left to get off lock. So I kind of just rode it out, stayed on the brakes hard, and almost got stopped in time. But it was just enough to like kind of touch the right front to the tire wall. So I kind of like gently grazed it and then popped back out. It didn't bend the tie rod or anything, but it was just enough to bend the lower control arm. It just pushed it back just a little bit, which kind of threw off the caster settings. And this was our last practice run. We got it back to the pits. We had all of our tools out on hot grid. And the hot grid's kind of out on the street. I think it's like Ocean Boulevard. And it's not a flat area. I knew we had, some alignment issues, so I brought it back to the pit had the guys grab all the tools that we needed for changing that caster setting. They got back, we jacked the car up, we had to pull the subframe brace out, adjusted the control arm out as far as we could, you know, in a safe limit to where there was enough thread engagement still in the control arm. And we got it back to, I think it was like 5 degrees of caster on the right side. Normally we're at like 6.5. So it was a little bit wonky driving after that. Actually, we got it done like just in time. We almost had to call our 5-minute. We got in the car, drove it up to grid, and basically went straight into our battle after that. So I wasn't exactly sure what the car was gonna do.
All right, here we go. Moving on to our next battle. And that is Kazuya Taguchi, right? Kazuya Taguchi and Alec Robbins. Kazuya Taguchi up garage, another 86, another Jerry Yang racing vehicle. Alec Robbins, ooh, gets way loose. Has some trouble there chasing down Kazuya Taguchi. Taguchi almost going into the wall. You saw him back off there quite a bit going into outside zone 3, but Alec Robbins spinning early on. That'll make Kazuya Taguchi has a major advantage here. Don't know what happened to Robbins, but just you saw him just really kind of.
We had Taguchi, so he's typically a very fast driver and usually pretty aggressive. So I knew going into the chase run, I was gonna have to be aggressive right off the start because, you know, once we flip-flopped, I knew he was gonna do the same in his. So I wanted to be aggressive right off the start. Leaving the chicane, it was kind of odd. He took off, but he went very slow through the chicane and then drove like slower than normal up to the initiation point. So it kind of threw me off a little bit. We initiated and then his car, I don't know if he was having car issues or what, but he like was way slower than he typically is. So I initiated, and then when I got on throttle, I like lurched forward, like the car almost wanted to like drive past him. So I got on the left foot brake hard and then kind of handbrake myself back into position and then got back into clutch kick. And when I did that, the car like hooked up like a lot more than normal. And it kind of like lifted the front end just enough to where I lost front traction and had to understeer. And at that point, like I was just trying to hang on to it, and it kind of like hooked up and understeered, and then when I got back off the throttle, it hooked and sent me around, and there wasn't really a whole lot I could do at that point. So it was kind of a weird situation. I'm not sure if he was trying to play games, or if there was something going on, or if he was expecting me to be slow, so he went slower. But yeah, it was kind of an odd situation. And so yeah, I went back, and you know, there's nothing I can do at that point but run a good lead run. So.
Throw down a heater of a lead run with Kazuya Taguchi in his rearview mirror. And, you know, Kazuya over the last few years, like I said, Jerry Yang, he got that win in St. Louis, and that was just such a tipping point for him and his program and his mentality. Here we go, Alec Robbins out front in that Nissan Z. There he goes, a lot more comfortable. Gets out there, bangs that back bumper. Little hesitation going to outside zone 2 on the Kenda tires and outside zone 3. The boy from Minnesota, oh, and Kazuya dives into the inside. That's a major mistake. That was a massive mistake by Kazuya. It just glitched. He just absolutely glitched like he was in a video game. Almost goes into the wall.
I went out there and went a little bit deep in the first corner and got into the wall a little bit, but the rest of the run was pretty good. He ended up actually looping it in the last corner. So we both had mistakes in the lead, but I think because I went just a little bit deeper in that first corner, I think if I wouldn't have tagged the wall to where it kind of made me make an adjustment, I think it maybe would have gone our way, but you know, you live and learn at that point. So moving forward, obviously we've got some issues with the car we need to fix. I already kind of know what we're gonna do about the power steering issue. We're gonna try and change the bracket around to where rather than it trying to loosen itself, it's gonna try and tighten itself. So we'll pull tension on that pulley the other way. And then obviously just some bent control arms and stuff that need to be replaced. But other than that, a few suspension changes we're gonna make going forward. The new Kenda tire compound that they're running this year is a lot grippier than we've had in the past. Probably the past like 3 or 4 seasons of any tire we've been on hasn't had this much grip. So trying to set the car up for a tire that makes grip rather than trying to set the car up to make maximum grip for a tire that doesn't have grip, it's a little bit different. And so we have to try and figure out, you know, settings that are going to work for this. So actually pulling a bunch of grip out of the car moving forward and then allowing the tire to do what it does is going to probably work a lot better for us. So that's kind of the plan. We got LS Fest coming up this weekend. So we'll be able to get out there and play with a bunch of these settings and kind of a less competitive environment and get the car working good. And moving forward to Atlanta, we have our new motor is still going together. The 6.2 did great out there. It felt like it was down a little bit on power, but I'm not sure if that was a power issue or if the car was just so gripped up that it was making the motor feel like it had less power. Because the car, it was extremely fast all weekend, and basically because it made so much grip, I couldn't rev the car out like I normally would. So it was kind of a weird situation where we were trying to balance between a gear ratio that wasn't ideal and too much grip, and you know, sacrificing here and there to make things work. But we did what we could, and you know, the amount of laps that we're able to get in. So we got LS Fest coming up this weekend. It should be a good time to really give the car another shakedown. We should be able to fix a couple of these issues that have come up in the first event, basically the first outing of the car. So really get things dialed in, get out there, maybe win some stuff, we'll see. Yeah, then moving forward, coming back from LS Fest, hopefully we'll be able to get the big motor in and yeah, just make some power and have everything like tip top for Atlanta so we can really drive the car how we want to drive the car.